Welcome back. I hope you're all doing well, and we're going into 2020 with a lot of people trying to make sense of the last several years of identity politics becoming such a topic of contention that really sometimes it doesn't matter what issues you try to bring up that don't directly connect to identity politics. Now, in some cases, people that fall victim to identity politics are the same ones that have used them. And I guess that's what most people would call poetic justice. What goes around comes around. In this case, we're going to talk about Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris is she's kind of made a name for herself among progressive circles for her what people probably consider her spunky demeanor in Congress. And she's definitely going to have a certain portion of the electorate and interested in her. And I would consider that portion to be very, stable middle class liberals. And other than them, I think that she has a huge problem relating to people, which would be that would be a very big issue going into the general election when she's going up against Donald Trump. Now, there's also a community that's actively attacking her, and they're basically trying to cut the legs out from under her candidacy before it even gets running. And I'll let you hear their arguments. You can judge for yourself. But they are called the ADOS, the African Descendants of Slave, American Descendants of Slave. I think that I don't remember what the A stands for. The ADOS. And I used to watch a show that they would have called Breaking Brown and another one called Tone Talks. And it's part of my pattern of looking at media that I don't necessarily agree with to understand the argument angle that they come from. So here is Antonio Moore, who has a show called Tone Talks, where he is breaking down basically the problem for ADOS people with Kamala Harris. And once I get through with that, I might, analyze and repeat some of the same points that he does to explain, in my words, how this group of people are feeling about Kamala Harris. So here we go.
I believe that Kamala Harris has no business running as an African American candidate. I believe there's fundamental problems with her campaign as it tries to represent African Americans. From everything from her own personal history to her identity to what she's actually proposing on immigration and beyond. For me, I'm looking at this thing and I'm just wondering how we move forward, how we have this discussion, how do we get honest about the need to recognize the difference in being African American, being American DOS, from being anything else. And I think fundamentally, if we don't have that discussion, we can't get to reparations or anything else. For me.
So what is he talking about there? When you have somebody who is running for office, trying to represent a community, you oftentimes have people that throw cold water on their whole notion of pertaining to a certain group. You might remember, for example, that there were a number of politicians that wanted to court the Jewish vote. Okay, John Kerry, I believe, talked about his long lost, I think it was his great grandfather was Jewish. And then there was, of course, you see people all the time trying to harp on some sort of Irish lineage. The most relevant one today is Elizabeth Warren and the Pocahontas controversy, whether she really has any Indian lineage at all or not. Now, with Kamala Harris, it's a bit more of a difficult conflict there. Kamala Harris, as you might remember from the profile video, Kamala Harris is Jamaican and Indian. Her dad is Jamaican and her mom is Indian. So therefore, you do have some evidence of African descent within her lineage. Okay, from Jamaica. We don't know how much exactly because I don't think it's public record as of right now. And of course, it's at least 50% not African of any type. And then beyond that, if you listen to their show, Yvette Carnelle and Antonio Moore, here is kind of what you would hear about people who come from other countries, who are African American, who are African or black of any type, but not African descendants of slaves. Okay, so this is Yvette Carnelle's opinion. Now, I did freeze this kind of at an inopportune moment, but it's hard to catch her at a good break. So there's no offense to her. This is a funny face, though. But this is her relationship in terms of how she views people who immigrated here from Africa.
Go to Ghana. You're gonna have to go to Kenya. You're gonna have to go to those places because that's not always who we get. Most of the time, who we get here. And so when you look at them to draw from that prism, oh, I see dirt, I see mud, I see African kids playing, oh, they must be poor. You just don't understand that they have an actual class. Just like white people in this country have a class, they have a class.
Class system.
They have a class system. They have a class system. And I'm leading you somewhere. So I want to go to another clip because, there was a Nigerian woman who put up a YouTube clip where she basically talked about why my Nigerian parents don't like black people. So let's go to that, and let's just. I'm just listening. Make sure you get the audio on that. Let's just play.
Towards black people, they just don't like them. A lot of people don't like black people for some reason.
Y'all gotta tell me.
I wanted to know why exactly my parents, why my Nigerian parents don't like black people. Aren't we all black?
No, Ada, you are not black.
You are
not Akata. We are Nigerian. We know where we come from. We are not waywards. Black people are so disrespectful. They do not know how to respect their elders. And what is this Black Lives Matter nonsense? Every single life matters. Foolish gods killing one another. Black Lives Matter. But you are killing yourself. Look at these black teenagers having babies. 15 babies having babies. Pop, 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 pop. They just have babies and a wedlock. For what? What are they doing this for? What are they having babies for?
Because media wants you to think a certain way. They selectively put topics in the media so that you can understand it. Why do you think Donald Trump is always in the media? I'm pretty sure the media is trying to send you a message about him. The media wants you to think that way about black people. I don't know why, but that's just how it is. And to say that all black people are disrespectful and loud is a messed up, totally wrong, totally inaccurate statement. It's not even a statement, it's just nonsense, really. And you can't even say that all black people are disrespectful. Everybody at one point in their life is disrespectful. Have you guys not watched this video where the white boy slaps his mom?
Did y'all? I want to see if y'all picked up on what I picked up on. I want to see if y'all picked up on what I picked up on. Okay. What I picked up on, did y'all hear what she said though? No sound. Did you get the sound on?
I got it. It's on.
Okay. Y'all can hear me now? Okay. I want to see if y'all picked up on what she said. I want to really see if y'all picked up on something she said. Throughout it, she said, my parents don't like black people. She didn't even say my parents don't like African Americans. She said my Nigerian parents don't like black people. And I know, I want to apologize to I had a Nigerian say, please start going on some other Africans. Go in on Irish people, some Ghanaians. Don't go in on us no more. And I want to thank, I had some great African allies that called in last week. But catch what she said. My parents don't like black people. They don't think they black. And she kept saying them. See, this is the thing y'all gotta understand. Y'all keep saying us, we all black people, we Pan-Africans, we in together. Y'all keep saying us, but they keep saying them.
So I think you can get the point. She would probably, if you're talking about Victor Oladipo or Giannis Antetokounmpo or Christian Okoye or any of these other Nigerian American or Nigerian immigrants or whatever. She identifies a schism between people whose ancestors were enslaved and brought to the Americas, or not even to the Americas, to specifically the USA. She identifies a difference between them and immigrants who came here since then. In fact, for those of you that don't know, some of the major black icons in American history are not actually from here. I believe Marcus Garvey, for example, is an excellent example. He actually came from Jamaica. And I think Sidney Poitier came from the Bahamas. So there's a major schism here, and people don't understand that identity and the different elements of it are really going to complicate efforts by political parties to market to an entire group of people. Now, I still think that there's a substantial part of the American public, part of the black community, that continues to think, well, all people of color are looked at in a certain way by the police, by the authorities, or whatever. I don't think that Yvette Carnelle is alleging that these African people, or the people from Puerto Rico, she doesn't really like them too much either, but all these other minorities, she's not alleging that they don't suffer from discrimination. But what is the ADOS movement in particular? What they want to say, and I'm not going to, I don't have a clip of it today, but I could probably go into it a different time, is that if you were enslaved in the USA, enslaved or earlier than that, and your parents, or rather your family was descended from descendants of slaves, you deserve a different compensation than people who came here as immigrants from Africa, as immigrants from the West Indies or other American colonies that came here later, or especially from India or China or any of the other countries where people are coming from. They talk a lot about the fact that President Obama was very, very encouraging of the gay agenda, but not of the black agenda. And they're not saying, I think typically they say, well, they don't have any issue with gay rights. They just think that was disingenuous of him to use the black vote to get elected, as opposed to actually executing on a black agenda. And they talk a lot about a black agenda. And in fact, past couple of days I was chatting with a friend of mine on Facebook, and we were making fun of the interviews with Charlemagne the God on his show, The Breakfast Club. Kamala Harris and Cory Booker came and basically with hat in hand, they were trying to go to the black community and make their case that they're going to be their representative once they get into the White House, and their whole appeal fell apart. Okay, you might remember this clip.
It was a high pressure battle that we won. Mm-hmm. But that's my history.
What do you listen to? Because I know she has to go. So what does Kamala Harris listen to?
What were you listening to when you was high? What was on? What song was it?
Oh my goodness! Oh yeah, definitely Snoop. Tupac for sure.
What do you listen to now? What's your favorite hip hop artist now? What's your favorite artist?
You know who I really love is Cardi B.
You like Cardi B?
I really do.
Okay.
I really do. Everybody gets really just jokes. Sometimes I just turn on "Be Careful of Me."
Mm-hmm. That's your favorite.
Well, it's one of them. I think she's so fantastic. But there's so many.
What's your favorite movie?
So we have this issue here where people are they're just pandering to the crowd. Okay. Now I'm not going to allege that Kamala Harris has never listened to Snoop Dogg or to Tupac. In fact, this has been kind of analyzed a lot over the past two days or whatever. People have really made fun of it. But the fact of the matter is that Kamala Harris was not in high school when those records were released. I think she was already graduated from college or something. She might have already been an attorney. So the whole thing just reeks of disingenuousness. So I think it's really a problem when we have people who their entire pitch to the public is I want to identify with you. I want you to identify with me because we have a common heritage. That is a good way to relate to people. It's not a good way to actually change their lives. And in fact, I would actually say that the people who I identify the most with in terms of political ideas really don't have much to show that they're in common with me in terms of in terms of personal history. Nigel Farage, for example, almost nothing in common between me and him. Rand Paul, very professionally in terms of heritage, in terms of just the looks or whatever. Nothing. There's nothing. The only thing I have in common with him is I agree with most of the things he says. Styx Hexenhammer and Tim Pool, who I follow on YouTube. One of them is a pagan. Paganism is against my religion, and you have Tim Pool, who is pretty much, he's a blob of fence sitting. But you have to respect people based on the genuine face that they present to you, not based on some sort of markers that they throw at you that we both used to throw dice back in the day, right? Remember that time we played Pokemon when we were kids? Yeah, that vote for me. That's not the way it goes. That's kind of what Hillary Clinton would do. She did the same thing. She went to this show, which isn't, in my opinion, the greatest show, but it is kind of entertaining when the politicians come in. And she claimed that she carried around a bottle of hot sauce. It's ridiculous. So I think I understand what the ADOS are talking about and where they're coming from, but I think that they always talk about, in terms of these interviews, they really got to Cory Booker about it. They talk about the need for a black agenda. And the fact of the matter is that a black agenda is very difficult to craft if you sort of chop up the black community into kind of these smaller subcategories. So you have the ADOS. So what they really want is an agenda for ADOS. Fair enough. What they want for ADOS is reparations. They also want a number of other policies, such as Medicare for all. But the fact of the matter is, I think the other one that they want is baby bonds, which they talk about a lot. It's an idea that's really being promulgated by William Darity, a professor of public policy at Duke University. And in fact, they have been trying to get it promoted in the Senate. And it says in an interview with CNN, Darity said he has also been in contact with the offices of Kirsten Gillibrand and Oregon Senator Jeff Merkley, both of whom, along with Senators Elizabeth Warren of Massachusetts and California's Kamala Harris, are co-sponsors of Booker's bill. So Cory Booker actually put forward a plan in the Senate to achieve this baby bond idea, which, by the way, I'm not entirely well versed on it. So they want reparations and they want these baby bonds. And in my opinion, it's going to be very difficult for these politicians, whether it's Booker or Harris, to really gain any traction with this segment of the black community. And by the way, it is growing. There are more and more people who are joining this group of people who, I guess they fit in with the pro-black crowd, if you know what I'm talking about. These are people that are extremely skeptical of any of the mainstream political parties, whether it's the Republicans or the Democrats. They generally are very, very disaffected from the electoral process, and they believe that the government can't really correct the ills of the black community because inherently they see the government as supporting racism. So I think that's about it for right now. Now, if you want to put your thoughts forward, if you're an ADOS supporter of that stuff, and plus I don't have an interest in it. I don't have a personal stake in it. What do you want me to support you? Of course not. But yeah, the videos are kind of cool, and sometimes they really make like a lot of hilarious jokes about at Kamala Harris's expense. But if you have an opinion on it, yeah, go ahead, contact me, or you can comment if you don't want to really talk to me. Comment, let me know your take. Let me know if you might be one of these Nigerian Americans. You have a different take on it. Maybe you object to their viewpoint on it. But that's about it for today. So please like this video, subscribe to the channel, subscribe to my other channel, Razor Ray Special Cuts, as well as my channels on BitChute and CocoScope. And I will talk to you guys later, and you can see my other social media right here.